Welcome to the Essential Self-Care Podcast, a show for those of us who are, let's face it, too busy for self-care. Each week, we bring you real-life stories and expert insights to help you create a kinder, more compassionate relationship with yourself. I'm your host, Dr. Sheetal Ajmani, a physician with over 2 decades of experience blending Eastern and Western well-being practices. As the founder of Radiant Living Institute, I'm here to help you reconnect with your own inner radiance. Remember, small changes make a large impact, and it all starts here. Please note, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Always consult your own healthcare provider about your specific situation. Now, let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Essential Self-Care Podcast. I am so excited to be in the podcast studio with my friend and fellow changemaker, TeezySoDope.
I'm excited to be here, Sheetal.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited for this conversation. I'm excited to share this conversation with our listeners. But first, a little bit more about Teezy. So TeezySoDope is a multifaceted artist, songwriter, creative director, performer, and governor of the DC chapter of the Recording Academy. As a hip-hop artist, she has graced stages coast to coast, including headlining Virginia Beach Beloved Something in the Water Festival, and she just released her third album, I Am TeezySoDope. She's an entrepreneur and founder of SoDope Studios, which is a one-stop shop for entertainment essentials, including performance coaching, songwriting, creative direction, and original jingles for businesses, radio shows, podcasts, and brands. And as if that was not all, she has combined her love for music with youth mentorship, focusing on songwriting and performance coaching for emerging artists in Hampton Roads, and serves as a board member for the Theater and Entertainment Academy in Hampton City Schools. And she is a fellow change maker. So this is how we actually first met.
Yes. Thank you for the great introduction. Sometimes you got to just hear it. I often read it or send it in an email, but sometimes hearing it is it's nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shout out to Assembly because they definitely brought us together.
Yes, Assembly, the Changemakers program. So for those of you who may not know, Changemakers is a program by Assembly, which is it's so much more than a co-working space in Norfolk, Virginia. It's truly a community of innovators and changemakers and creators. And they have a dedicated program called Changemakers, which is by application only.
Yes.
I believe you had mentioned to me that this year, over 90.
We had like 95 applicants this year, and they nailed it to 12.
And all based on, the applications and who's accepted is really, they're looking at people who are making an impact in the local community through creativity and innovation. And so I was just chatting with Teezy before we started the recording, and I was like, I am always inspired whenever we have the opportunity to chat and connected.
You're my Assembly mentor. Don't listen. This is my mentor, okay? My changemaker mentor was you. You helped me in ways that I just needed quick answers about things, and you got me like really comfortable here. So I'm really excited about sitting down with you today. So it's just my way of like giving it back in a sense.
Well, I am so excited to dive into today's conversation. So today, TeezySoDope is going to share a bit of her own personal self-care journey, and we were just chatting, and you shared that it's not something you have the opportunity to share a lot about, and so I'm so thrilled that you're here.
Yes.
And I'm thrilled that you are interested and open to sharing that with us. So can you tell us about a time in your life where self-care became no longer an option but an absolute priority for you, and more importantly, what was the journey that you went on from there?
So it's ironic that you asked this because I was married, right? And an Army wife at that. So there was 2 different lives. There's a lot of lives we all have, correct? But that was a very interesting part of my life. And I was living in El Paso, Texas. And I had already started making changes that I didn't realize were changes. Because I think that's where it begins for anybody. Mm-hmm. I was making changes and didn't realize it. But within those changes, I was still neglecting a lot more. There was a day I kind of just got up and I didn't like everything. I was not satisfied. Like, I'm an athlete, so I'm used to looking a certain way and feeling a certain way when I do things and having energy. And it was just like a day I woke up and I didn't like how I looked physically, the weight. I didn't like how slow my mind was. I couldn't think as much as I was thinking. I'm used to being able to tackle a lot of things. Like I've never been bound by a task. And just not having the energy or the enthusiasm about life on a day-to-day basis, I realized I was pushing through rather than excited about living. So alongside that time frame, I also had a vision impairment. I started like my vision had started getting really rocky in my right eye about a year and a half earlier, 2 years earlier. I went to the doctor and I found out I had this thing called keratoconus. So my cornea was like scarred and I couldn't see anything except for like cloudy colors. So while all this is happening, I'm trying to figure this thing out. I get the call that I'm going to get surgery or whatever, but that whatever, I'm ready for it. Cool. One day I got up and just realized I didn't want to eat anything in my refrigerator at all. Nothing that was there I wanted. I didn't want the chicken. I didn't want the steak. I didn't want the shrimp. I didn't want anything. I just didn't want what was in there. And I kind of just made a decision to go plant-based. Like, and in the beginning, I was nervous still about it. And everybody telling me, you're not going to get the right proteins, yada, yada, yada. And I kind of went like pesca vegan. So I let go of all meats except for seafood. And I let go of dairy, like eggs, all the above, everything. Did that for like 3 weeks. And I had to take a road trip back from Virginia to El Paso. And I said, if I can make it from El Paso, like back to El Paso without eating seafood, then I can go straight vegan. I did that. And that was 2017. That was August of 2017. My surgery was August 31st, 2017. And so going into that, I think it started clearing my mind and my thoughts about the doubt that comes with surgery, how do you get through it, all these things. So I get this cornea transplant surgery, like literally my cornea off, new cornea on. One of the most painful things I've experienced in my life. But I had to rest during that afterwards. I can't be in the sunlight. I have to sleep. So again, that's why I say things like you can kind of see where it's going. It kind of like just domino effect. So I'm a few weeks into being plant-based and now I am put on bed rest. Sleep as much as you can. That's it. My mom came out. She was cooking my plant-based meals for me and I'm sleeping. Wow. And the first 2 weeks after surgery and just resting, I had lost like 20 pounds from just sleeping and eating clean. Wow. So now I'm like, wait, my mind feels different. Everything feels different.
Wow. Okay, we're gonna pause right there.
That's literally that's where it happened.
We're gonna pause.
That's where it happened
there,
for me.
And
that's where it happened.
We're gonna reflect on some of this. You just shared so much. Wow.
That was a life changer for me.
Yeah. So much. So I was jotting some notes down while you were chatting. There's a few different things I want to reflect on with what you shared. First of all, I just want to reiterate and emphasize the fact that what you shared about, and I don't think we've ever really talked about it in that way, or at least something about the way that you said it definitely made me reflect on it in a way that I don't think I have, of just making these changes and not even really realizing it. Because I think back to certain moments in my life, and now in hindsight, I can see, right, that, yeah, there were some of those moments of waking up and being like, wait a second, right? Maybe not recognizing fully who I am or the life that I'm living, right? Just through the series of events. But then in hindsight, looking back and realizing that there was a lot of sort of changes made along the way.
That like entice it to be a bigger change.
Right. Exactly. Leading up to sort of this realization and then making those bigger changes. And so I thought that was really interesting. And then the other thing that you were sharing was sort of this decreased energy and sort of sluggishness on multiple levels, physical, mental, emotional, multiple levels at one time. And this feeling of pushing through as opposed to feeling excited about each day. And then another thing that I thought was really interesting, and then of course, then the vision sort of compounding all of that, which I'm always interested in. I think our body is often, I always talk about our body sending us signals. And I do think there is an interesting connection sometimes that can be drawn between what is showing up in our physical body and how that relates to sort of mentally, emotionally, what we're going through. And so the fact that it was your vision that was affected when you were also feeling very sluggish and let's just say sort of cloudy. in other aspects
in every
of your
aspect,
life.
and I couldn't even
Wow.
see as well.
Yeah.
Like literally could not see. And that's partly why I wanted to talk to you about this, because I do know, like, coming from the medical side and getting more holistic side and learning about like how you move in mental health and all these things, I know that you could understand exactly, like we said off camera, this conversation isn't one that I'm able to have, you know, on all platforms, because not many people are open to even understanding how like signs and correlations and things can actually take part, not just in the physical of life, but in the physical of our bodies as well. And so for me, that was it. It was like I was feeling so down, and then I got so much more in a short amount of time. And the biggest thing was the rest. I was a person that in my new album I actually talk about it. Like, I used to stay up so late just trying to figure out what's next. Where am I going? Like, who am I? What am I supposed to be doing? And I didn't realize that like staying up was making it worse. Like fighting sleep was making like nightmares come to life in a sense. And when I got the surgery, I had to rest. And with rest came dreams and visions, ironically. And that moment, I knew like I couldn't go backwards. Like a lot of people ask me now, like, you know, there's people like, you still plant based? I'm like, I know what I felt like when I wasn't. And I mean, I've been in it now like 8 years almost. So there's times I've eaten like seafood because I'm starving and stuff like that. But I know the difference, and I know what it does to me. I can't speak on anybody else, but I know what it did for me. And then throwing in like a lot of exercise, like yoga. Yoga became my best friend. Like meditating became like my best friend. Reading, and writing, journaling. I found one of my journals oddly like 2 days ago.
Oh wow.
Like from that time frame. And so when you asked me those questions, it was so easy to remember, like, in my opinion, what was like the heightened moment of that, because I had those things written down. Like I started a process of every day that I got up just writing before I would do anything else.
It's so interesting. There's a couple other specific things that I want to reflect on. One of those being this, you know, you described earlier kind of felt like you were pushing through life, and now you're sharing with us that you would stay up really late at night also trying to figure out what's next. What am I meant to do? What should I be doing next? What is my role? You know, all of these questions that really so many of us grapple with in our day-to-day lives. And you were kind of that sort of pushing through, keeping yourself up at night, thinking about those things. And yet when you were in a position of forced rest, often when we also have these, you know, it can often show up as these medical conditions or physical ailments or physical issues that is really your body saying you need to slow down and you need to rest. And you listen to that. And then all of a sudden you start having these dreams and these visions. We process so much when we sleep, when we just give ourselves that opportunity. And so I'm curious, because that came about due to like forced rest. Obviously, that is something that has really stood out to you. So I'm curious now, how do you know, now 8 years later, how do you still prioritize and make sure that you're getting that rest that you need? Before we go on, I'm excited to share something that could really make a positive impact on your life. Do you feel like you've lost touch with your true self? Reclaim Your Radiance is Radiant Living Institute's signature coaching program designed to help you reclaim your worth, renew your energy, and restore your happiness in your life, career, and relationships. This 6-module program has already helped countless women regain control of their lives. Whether by setting boundaries in challenging relationships, finding strength through life transitions like divorce, pivoting in their careers, or rediscovering their purpose as they embrace new chapters of their life. Start your journey today and begin living authentically, unapologetically, and radiantly once again. Head over to radiantlivinginstitute.com/reclaim-your-radiance to get started. I hope you found that helpful, and if you're ready to explore this more, check out the link in the show notes. Now, let's jump back into today's episode.
It's so funny because you asked me a very cool question earlier, and I'm learning still. Once my life changed and I've got to grapple on who I am and what I want to do, and I started doing it and things start growing and it's like beautiful, I realized that I was still neglecting myself. I started neglecting myself again, rather, not still, because I had done really well, but I started neglecting the rest. And I would say, oh no, I gotta go. I gotta do this. It's work. It's work. Or it's family. Or I actually just bought tickets for this. Just trying to balance being a human, being a woman, being a friend, a sister, a daughter, an aunt, a partner, like a business owner, and I kind of lost sight of the rest part for a bit. And I realized rest is everything. And so it started with a moment. I joked about it with you the other day when we were leaving the Changemakers event. I was like, I have to have 15 minutes between anything I do to just stop and take time for me. And sometimes those 15 minutes turn into, oh, tonight you need to get to bed early. You need to rest tonight. This is more than just your average 15 minutes between. This is no. You need to take time for yourself. So I have learned to take time throughout the day to check in with me, to see what else do I need further to keep going. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's really hard, especially when you got a lot going on. But I realized if I don't, I'm not my highest self. Yeah. And everything else, we'll figure it out. It can wait. It can wait, like it can wait. So
yeah. It's a continual practice,
it
right?
Is.
It's a continual practice of that checking in. And like you said, I always say that self-care is really a journey, and we're all human beings living this life and continually evolving and growing in new situations. And you just mentioned, all the different roles that we carry and responsibilities that go along with all of those roles. And so juggling all of that and also wanting to show up as our highest, best selves in all of those roles that we're playing in this life, and who we are to ourselves and to others. And so having those so it can be very normal and to have those moments where you just kind of lose sight of all of those things that you were maybe at one time doing to care for yourself. But I also always say there's always like this, almost like a muscle memory. Like you remember what it feels like, you know? And so then that's where those checking in can be so helpful, having those moments to check in. And then also what I really loved hearing from you is having that adaptability in your mindset, that when you have those check-ins, sometimes that 15 minutes is enough. And sometimes that check-in reveals to you, no, actually, I need more. And honoring that, which can be really hard to do.
It's hard to say no to anything, right? Like sometimes it's hard to say no to people, places, things, any noun, right? It's hard to say no to a noun. And it's scary to say no. Sometimes you feel like if you say no to doing a job, you're going to miss out. And this could be another opportunity. Family, you don't want them upset. Friends, it's just hard to say no. But I realized, would you rather me say no, or would you rather me not show up as myself? And that's when I think throughout this like journey, it becomes a lifestyle. And that is the part that is continuous. Like with the lifestyle, it's up and down. You're not saying it's going to be this way all the time. It's just the lifestyle I live. And I think I had to adapt to understanding that this is a lifestyle, and to keep my lifestyle that I like with like wellness and mental health. Sometimes you have to be willing to do whatever it takes to keep the lifestyle the same way you would do it for work. Like it has to be that type of priority. And I think that is where I practice the most, is to give it the same priority that I would a job or a gig or that show I really want to do. It's like, this is a priority as well. Like this sits the same way. And it can be hard.
Yeah, definitely. But I love that self-care as a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle.
It is, and that goes right along with everything I share about it being a journey. And one thing that I also talk about is, so many people are constantly looking for some sort of balance in their life, but I like to think of it more as alignment, because to me, alignment means that you can ride those waves of life, because life isn't just,
you're ready for what
straight
comes.
line,
That's it.
Right? I mean, a straight line.
It's not.
If you look at it,
It'd be boring if it was,
means
right?
That you're not alive anymore.
It'd be so
it's
boring. And it'd be boring.
Right,
It'd be boring if we really knew what was next.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
To be
so
that
looking
prepared.
at it as like alignment, riding the waves, a lifestyle with its ups and downs and adapting along the way. I really, really love that. And let's see, something else that I'm going to go back a little bit that I wanted to reflect on, because I thought this was so interesting too. You know, we talked about all of these change, like in hindsight, seeing all these changes that you were making along the way, leading up to that pivotal moment. And then one morning you just woke up and looked at the fridge and said, I don't want anything that's in here.
I don't want it.
And you just made a decision that, I mean, we can say right now, a decision that quick to go plant-based. In reality, perhaps there were a lot of those changes leading up to that point. But I thought that was really interesting. And then you just notice how you felt. Another thing that I often will say is to really and encourage people to do, and something I do in my own life, is just becoming a student of our own life, because it really is your own experience. You know, maybe that isn't for everyone, and that's fine. But you were open to it and really listened to what something from deep down inside was telling you that you needed to do in that moment, and have noticed tremendous difference. Again, another interesting thing, kind of going full circle to where we started too, is that you shared that you noticed a difference on all levels.
Yeah.
Physically, mentally, emotionally.
Every which way that I could be, I wasn't myself. And if I was that way, like myself around others, the moment that I wasn't around others, I was drained from pretending to be what people would normally expect from me. I was drained. I was just tired, literally tired, like in every aspect. And I just wanted to feel normal. So my normal, you know what I mean? And in trying to be normal, I created a new normal.
Yeah. Whew. Yeah, that's powerful. Goodness. I can definitely relate. I think so many women can relate to like continually trying to live up to what we think others expect of us. And then we end up feeling depleted and drained. But then something happens undoubtedly that makes us go, wait, I need to start prioritizing myself, like my highest self.
Not just the little parts.
Exactly.
No, like the things that actually make me be the best that I can be.
Exactly.
Like those are the things that are easily neglected, actually, because typically they don't involve other people. Exactly. And so that's
exactly. And it may require saying no, like we were just talking about, saying no to others in specific situations so that you can provide that for yourself. So as we start to wrap up, I brought up a question before we started the recording, and I do want to bring that up now. You know, you took us on just a little piece of your journey. I know there's so much more we could dive deeper into, but for today and for time's sake, I was sharing with you before we started the recording that you are one of those people who, you know, for all of our listeners, you heard the intro that I gave
Thank you.
Teezy. And anytime we meet in assembly, that we chat, that I hear about all of the amazing things you're doing. And I think a lot of women have this, that we think about at least internally. And I think this is first time I'm saying it out loud on the podcast, but I think a lot of women, we have this internally. Sometimes there's people in our life and we'll look at them and we'll be like, gosh, how do they do all that? That's so amazing. And we're just inspired by that, right? And so you're one of those people for me. Every time we meet, every time I hear about all that you're doing, a touring artist, a recording artist, a founder, so much work you do in the community with the youth in high schools and with music and arts. And it's just so inspiring. So I'm curious, what role does self-care and how does this lifestyle of self-care that you have adopted and been cultivating, particularly over the past 8 years, help you do all that you do right now?
Whew. Great question. And like I told you off camera, I've never been asked this question. And I'm glad that we saved the answer for camera. It starts with God for me. Everything that I do, everything that I am, it's from God. God has brought me through things that I don't even think people would understand. And having a connection with God is so important to me. I pray a lot. I mean, I'm a praying woman. Like I pray. And that's how I start my days. I start my day just talking to God. I end my days with talking to God. In the middle of my day, I'm talking to God. Before I do everything I do, I mean, whether it be step on the stage or before I come in here with you, I pray. I pray about it. And I ask God to just take over and allow me to be my highest that I could be. So, in that aspect, showing up is just half the battle. It's like that's the hardest part, is just being there, because I know that I'm prepared to be great, to be what's needed, simply because God has blessed me to do so. Aside from being a heavily praying woman, long showers, okay, they're really underrated. All right. At least 2 to 3 times a week, I am in the shower for almost 2 hours. Like, and I mean, like, the shower might be running, I might be sitting down in the tub. I don't know, but it's just water connects me with myself, spiritually, and it allows me to just calm myself and reset myself. Those two things, I can be lost all the way. And if I can pray, if I can get to some water, I can get through everything. So I guess it's just taking the time to just not do anything. And then it fuels me to be able to do everything, I guess.
That was so beautifully said. I agree completely. Yeah. Giving yourself permission to not do anything.
Yeah.
And that fuels you to do everything.
To do everything.
I love that. And yeah, I don't think I've shared on this show either that how important those two things are for me too.
Yeah.
And yeah, anytime I sit down to do a podcast or do a speaking engagement or working with a client, there's this prayer that God, please, whatever is meant to come through me, please allow it to flow through me. And then you just step back. And,
literally, like, I told somebody, I was like, it's not me. It's
little sheath, like little S self Sheathel just
steps back. Yeah. It's not you. It's you, but it's not you. I tell people, like, it's not me. It's me, but it's not me. It's me allowing myself, like when they say Jesus take the wheel or whatever, like whatever way you believe in it, it's just like literally just allow God to be present, step back, and watch it happen. It's the go-to every time.
Yeah. And then water as well. Water. Yeah. I used to live outside of the DC area, and there's some water around there, but I had to come back to Hampton Roads where there is the beaches and rivers and, I told you I was water all around.
Now imagine, that's the other part about everything we talked about today. All this awakening happened for me when I was in El Paso. It was my first time living off of the East Coast ever in my life, away from a beach. There's no beach. There's nothing. There's ponds, and they're little. Yeah. I could cross them. I could walk across this pond. So the irony is that all of those elements came to place to allow me to be able to reset and figure out what was next, like water. Yeah. And the lack of it at that aspect kind of helped me realize something's not right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've enjoyed this conversation.
As have I. Thank you so much.
I feel we covered so much. Thank you so much for sharing different elements of your journey, specifically some tools and modalities that have really served helpful for you. Yes. Things like plant-based diet, things like forced rest, which has now become intentional rest.
I love resting now.
Prayer, water, all of these elements. One of the primary intentions of the show is to share our journeys and also expose people to different tools and modalities that they may find helpful in their own life as well. So that all being said, where can people learn more about you and just the incredible things that you're doing?
Well, thank you for this, first and foremost. This is a great sit down. I've never been asked the questions that I've been asked here today. Very grateful. Me, TeezySoDope, I'm everywhere, literally. However, if you want to find me the quickest, you can go to SoDopeStudios.com. It's literally the best way to find me. You can find all of my social medias, see the latest things I've done. You can email me from there, all those things. So SoDopeStudios.com is probably the best way to find me.
Great. And I'll include that link in the show notes, and be sure to check out her new album, which you can also find on that website.
Yes. Thank you.
I know you have so many choices for how to spend your time, so I thank you for being here today with Essential Self-Care. As a gift, download your free workbook, 6 simple yet powerful steps to create your radiant life at radiantlivinginstitute.com and start your journey to a more radiant you.